Yes, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please, come on, like and subscribe. It really helps. Seriously, I want to talk today about the Independent Sentencing Review Committee, headed by a man called the Right Honourable David Gauke, G-A-U-K-E, which has been set up by the Ministry of Justice to come up with a solution to the problems of sentencing people to imprisonment in the United Kingdom, which is a big problem because the prisons are overflowing. And let me tell you exactly what their list of criteria is. The first criteria is to punish and protect the public. So if they're looking at imprisonment, they're looking at the main thing, the number one objective of imprisonment, according to the Independent Sentencing Review Committee, is punishment and protection. The second is the rehabilitation of offenders. So it's not first, it's second, yeah? That's the second thing. They want to be able to rehabilitate offenders. And the third is they're looking for an alternative to imprisonment using modern technology, which there's a great deal out there at the moment, as you know. Now, on Radio 4 this morning at approximately 8 minutes past 8, maybe 10 past 8, have a look. You can get it on BBC iPlayer. Just go in and type in the Today programme, and zoom it forward to just gone 8 o'clock, 5 past 10 past 8, and you'll hear the Right Honourable David Gauke discussing the criteria for the Independent Sentencing Review Committee, which has been set up by the Ministry of Justice to discover alternatives to the current sentencing policy in Great Britain to deal with the massive overcrowding. Well, let me tell you this. I've looked at the committee. I'm going to put a link down below, right at the top, even above my book, which, by the way, deals with the issues of imprisonment from a very close perspective. That's my perspective as one of the people who actually wore the big hat with a keychain. And what happens is, in prison, it's told in my book, there's three, it's a series of 3, it's available on Amazon. HMP Manchester Prison Officer John G. Sutton. I was there, I was the man. But they haven't got anybody on their committee that's actually walked the landings. What they have got are a series of former governors, police officers, an ex-police officer, and members of the judiciary. Now let me start at the start where they're asking for your opinions. He was on Radio 4 today. He said, please do submit submissions. Send your submissions in writing to the Ministry of Justice, and I put a link down below right at the top there. You can go to their website. It's on the government website, Ministry of Justice website. It's the Independent Sentencing Committee. It lists all the members of the committee, and guess what? It doesn't submit. There's nowhere there, no email address, no connection address for any member of the public to submit their opinions. He said it on Radio 4 this morning. We want to see your submissions, your ideas. So they would say that they paid lip service to it, but they provided absolutely no means of so doing. So do please have a look at the link down below. Go on to it, have a look. Right Honourable David Gauke, MP, he's MP, and he's the chair of the Independent Sentencing Review Committee. The first thing they're talking about is punishment and protection. Right, let's deal with that. It serves no purpose, no protection for the public to send people to prison for not paying the TV licence, not paying fines, not paying the rates. Doesn't serve any purpose for society. It doesn't protect society from these individuals. They don't pose a threat to society. So, bingo! There's your answer number one. Don't send them to prison. People who don't pay fines, don't send them to prison. Sequester their wages, if you need to do that. I mean, don't forget, a lot of these people who are not paying fines and not paying TV license, etc., haven't got any bloody money. They can't pay them. Eh? It's as simple as that. You put things out of people's range, they can't do it. Anyway, they need to look at that. But the problem is, from what I'm seeing of these people, they wouldn't actually personally have any experience of waking up on a Friday morning and thinking, well, I haven't got any money now till next week, so I can't afford to buy the children a proper dinner this weekend, or take them out anywhere, or entertain myself, or even feed myself properly and keep the house warm. You know, when you're in that kind of position, and people are, I mean, look at the rate for rentals across the UK. Compare that to your wages. People are paying in the Greater London area. 60% of their disposable income is being used for rental. Come on, rental or mortgages. I mean, the average rental in the Greater London area is, I believe, about £1,500 a month. Now, despite the fact that wage rates are slightly higher in the Greater London area, that's still a fair amount of money. In the northwest of England, where I live in the northwest of England, in the county of Lancashire, the average rent for, say, a moderate 3-bedroomed, semi-detached house will be somewhere around about £800 to £1,000 a month. Take that from your disposable income, doesn't leave a great deal to play with. If you're on an average wage, you know, say you're on the basic minimum wage. So one thing they've got to do is take the nonsense of imprisoning people for basically being poor, you know, basically having no disposable income to pay their ridiculous fines. I mean, and let me tell you this, I was recently fined for doing 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. They produced no evidence. All they produced was a talking head who stood up and said, "This man has done this." I said, "Okay, you say I've done it. Where's your evidence?" Do you know what the court said to me? Seriously. And this is a criminal court, the magistrate's court. They said, "What is your defence?" My defence was, I am an Englishman, and I say I didn't do it. You're saying I did it. Prove it. They adjourned the case, but I ended up getting fined something like £400 for 5 miles an hour. Now, all right, I probably am not impoverished, but if I was impoverished, how would I pay it? And assuming that I couldn't pay it, I could be spending some time in strange ways. Seriously. I mean, and that costs the government, the Ministry of Justice, £1,000 a week to put somebody into prison. It also blocks up the prison system for the people who really are offending, who they are not imprisoning, by the way. Numerous sex offenders, child abusers are not going to prison. They're being put on probation. Now, I can't tell you why, but that's the case. So let me tell you this, right at this very moment, the idea of sending to prison for punishment and protection of the public is nonsense. And they can't face this because the people, I've looked at them, and you got the link down below, go and have a look at the people who are on this committee. They very likely will never in their whole life have been in the box accused with any crime. I've been numerous times. I was charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm. 3 big men attacked me, and I disposed of the 3 of them within seconds, actually. It didn't take me very long. And the actual prosecuting counsel said, yes, but Mr. Sutton, you are an expert in self-defence. I certainly am. Self-defence. If I hadn't done so, these three big blokes, all carrying glasses, stating they were going to kill me, what would I do? I could very well have been seriously injured, been bearing some scars. I could have been an Al Capone lookalike. Yeah. They still charged me. It cost me, in today's terms, the equivalent of about £30,000, maybe £40,000 to defend myself. And I was, of course, subsequently acquitted because I hadn't done anything other than prevent myself from being bloody murdered. Anyway, that's a tale from the past. So their number one criteria for this is to only send people to prison for punishment and for protection of society. Punishment. What's that all about? I mean, people who are offending, who need to be punished, get them away from the standard prisons. Get them away from central city prisons. Stick them in a massive, strong prison. That would be my first recommendation. If people are insisting that they cannot subsist in society, remove them from society for the protection, for the greater good of the greater number of people. Get them out of society and stick them in a massive, great, strong prison in the middle of nowhere. Possibly remove Dartmoor. It's an anachronism. If it's going to remain, let it remain as a museum, as evidence of man's inhumanity to man. And Dartmoor dates from the early 19th century, from the early 1800s. It's still there on Dartmoor. Yeah. They should, in that area, build a massive 10 to 20, 15,000 strong prison. And for the people who really do need to be separated from society, but as evidenced by their own actions, stick them in there. And do not send anybody to prison for less than a year. If you've committed offence, one strike, you're given a warning and possibly a fine that will be sequestered from your wages or whatever, and do that. On the second time, you might get a longer prison sentence, but cut down the nonsense prison sentences. People doing 3 months for dealing in or taking found with controlled substances. Or aren't they still going to do it? They're doing it in the prisons. Yeah, so that's nonsense. Yeah, so they should have a 3-tier sentencing system. No the nonsense cut out. You can go to the prison. The minimum sentence would be 1 year, followed by the next one will be 2 years, followed by 20 years. And if you've decided to offend 3 times and you are definitely a threat to society, then 20 years on a rehabilitation program in a strong prison in the middle of nowhere. That will definitely either rehabilitate you or see you in another dimension. Simple as that. Now, the third idea that they've got is an alternative to imprisonment. If they can't come up with an alternative to imprisonment after 300, 400 years of locking people into empty cells, then there's something wrong with their thinking. Yeah? I honestly believe that there are numerous alternatives. And the idea of wearing tags, that's one of them. Yeah? Imprisonment in their own property, house arrest, effectively. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they can also put, I believe they can have like implants today where you could put it in somebody's wrist, whereby it would automatically set off an alarm if they left their property. They just put a device in there and lock them in like that. Keep them in with their own. They'd stay with their own family. They would, of course, be allowed to go out and work, but whilst maintaining their work, they wouldn't be allowed out after the curfew hours, after specific hours, which would be individually designed to each of their specific requirements. i.e. if they were working shifts or whatever. So it wouldn't be just limited to, say, between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. in the evening. If they were working shifts, it would be designed to do that, and it could be done remotely. I mean, the computer systems nowadays are quite incredible, and nobody seems to be thinking along those lines, so get your arse around that, right, Honourable David Gork. Yeah. So that's my little rant for today. Have a look down below. There's a link there. I'm putting it there on this. Get there, have a look, and if there will be, I believe, in the next few days, a link on there for you to submit your ideas on how to amend the sentencing policy in the United Kingdom. That's my little rant for today. Notice they didn't contact me. That's the song dinger, by the way. That might be why. They didn't want to hear me singing. Well, I'm going to sing to you now. If you're still around, you've asked for this. I'm going to sing you a song recorded by Frank Sinatra. Particularly like, nice little song this. It's innocent enough. It's called The Summer Wind. I hope you're all sitting comfortably because this will certainly bugger it up. The summer wind came a-blowing in from across the sea. It lingered there to touch your hair and walk with me. All summer long we sang a song, and then we strolled on golden sand. Two sweethearts and the summer wind. Like painted kites, those days and nights, they went flying by. The world was new beneath a blue umbrella sky. Then, softer than a piper man, one day it called to you, and I lost you to the summer wind. The autumn wind and the winter winds, well, they've come and gone. And still the days, those lonely days, they go on and on. And guess who sighs his lullabies through nights that never end? My fickle friend, the summer wind, the summer wind. There you go. I've just castrated that bastard, haven't I? Do please like and subscribe, and don't forget to have a look at that link down below. Tales from the Jails.